Hi everyone. In this video, let's talk about energy sources. Energy sources in general can be categorized into non-renewable and renewable. Non-renewable energy sources are limited to the amounts that we can mine or extract from the earth. Right? They already exist. We're going to extract them. Renewable energy sources are naturally replenishing. But there's a caveat there. They are flow limited. We can't pull out more than is coming in at the same time. All right. They are inexhaustible in duration, but limited in the amount of energy that's available at any particular time. So let's take a look at the US's energy consumption. And according to this chart here, we use about 89% of our energy is non-renewable. The largest categories of those are natural gas and petroleum, so any oil products. But we also use a large chunk of nuclear and coal. Renewable energy, right here, only accounts for 11% of our energy consumption. And of that 11%, you've got a little bit up here that's some solar. You've got a larger chunk that's hydroelectric, and about the same amount that's wind. We also use a large section down here that is biomass, including wood. I'm going to talk about the top three types of renewable energy, and those are solar, hydroelectric, and wind. So let's start with solar. And the one thing I want you to keep in your top of your mind here about solar energy this week is that it consists of more than just photovoltaics. All right. In people's minds, solar energy means photovoltaics. But there's also passive solar, in which you use the sun's energy to heat your building, and daylighting. Daylighting is using the sun to light your building. And with both of those, the big benefit is that you reduce the use of any other energy to heat and light your building. Photovoltaics, by the way, abbreviated PV, is the solar cells that you may be familiar with, and they convert the sun's energy to electricity. All right, I love this diagram from your book, and it's showing the low-hanging fruits. All right, so if there's an analogy between all of the different strategies for achieving a goal and how easy or how hard they are to achieve, all right, it's this fruit tree. Some of the fruits are way at the top of the tree. They're very difficult to achieve. You'd really have to climb to get there. Some of them are, quote, the low hanging fruit. You can just reach up and get them. And one of the things that makes me laugh about this particular illustration is that some of the fruit is just laying on the ground. You need to pick it up. All right. So here are a couple of the different solar energy strategies and how easy or how difficult they may be to achieve. And you notice way down there at the bottom, laying on the ground, all you have to do is pick it up, is building orientation, building color. Window placement, window size, all you have to do is reach up and pick those. Shading, passive solar, you have to design for these, but they're still quite easy to do. Moving on up to the higher hanging fruit, or the fruit that you really have to work for, you get some daylighting, active solar strategies, and finally at the top, notice this is fairly hard to do, is photovoltaics. In our semester, we're going to be talking about a lot of these strategies, so don't worry if you're not sure what exactly these things mean at this point. But even though photovoltaics is up there at the highest point of our fruit tree, all right, it doesn't mean that it's impossible or impractical to do. So here is a color plate from your textbook. Did you know your textbook has color plates? They're right in the center. All right. Color plate 20, it says there's sufficient solar energy access for photovoltaics even in the least favorable parts of the US, which, by the way, according to this chart, is way up here in foggy, overcast Oregon coast. So let's kind of wrap up our discussion of solar energy by talking about some qualities of this energy source. And the number one top quality why we're discussing it is that it is renewable. Solar energy produces no air, water, or land pollution, and it is safe for humans to be around. Let's move our discussion on to talk about wind energy. So wind energy is popular because it can, in the right circumstances, produce clean and renewable energy at the same cost as conventional energy. Right? And the caveat there is that this only really applies in some of the best locations for wind energy. All right. And I want to talk about a lot of people think, oh, well, we can't do wind energy because it's intermittent. Some days are windier than others. Some seasons are windier than others. Some times of day are windier than others. But it turns out that this can be ameliorated. Okay, so you can make up for this by using an energy grid that's combined with other energy sources. If you do need a standalone system, you can combine your wind energy production with a large battery. All right, so you have to save some energy for times that the wind is low. Or you can combine it with a photovoltaic system. So let's talk about those best locations for wind energy. And your local conditions or your microclimate is very, very important. So the best places to put your wind turbines are mountain tops, mountain passes, and shorelines. You need a smooth airflow. And so often urban areas are not appropriate for wind energy. So wind energy can be captured in two different ways. One is a windmill and the other is a wind turbine. What's the difference between these two? A windmill will convert the wind energy into mechanical energy. What we typically use today for producing electricity is called a wind turbine. And a wind turbine converts wind energy directly into electricity by spinning your magnets basically to create electrical current. Let's move on and talk about hydroelectric energy sources. So we're using water to create energy. And the way we do this requires a dam. All right, you build a dam, you build up pressure behind the dam, and then release some of it to spin some turbines and create electricity. Because of the requirement for the dam, you can see one in your screen here, hydroelectric energy is expensive. It creates large areas that are flooded, and therefore it's environmentally questionable. So let's take a look at those graphs you saw earlier, and the hydroelectric power is this light blue color. You can see that it's a relatively large chunk of our renewable energy use, which again is fairly small in the total energy consumption of the US. But let's look at over here at its history. So we started out in 1900 using a particular amount of hydroelectric energy that increased and increased with some large infrastructure projects here in the US. But in the last 20, 30 years, that has decreased. We are actually decommissioning and removing dams from our country because of the environmental impacts caused by them. All right, thank you everybody. In this video, we covered the different types of energy sources, renewable, non-renewable, and I went into some more detail about kind of our top three renewable energy resources here in this country: solar, wind, and hydroelectric.